to our fellow cleaning professionals. We're so glad you're here. We make this free content for you. We understand the challenges of the industry. If you've gotten value out of this, please subscribe. And for those business owners you know, team members you know, share this podcast with them. Let's get back to the doc. Joel, we're back and we're talking about HIPAA compliance. I'm familiar with this in dealing with doctors' offices, general record keeping, but I'm not quite certain I understand how it relates to commercial cleaning.
Yeah, nobody understands how it relates to commercial cleaning. Oh, here, let me tell you how it relates. The HIPAA, which a lot of people say, well, what's it stand for? It stands for the Health Insurance Portability Accountability Act of 1996. The Cliff Notes version means somebody might have a computer screen on and you see their medical records. You may see a medical file open on somebody's desk. You might see somebody sitting in the waiting area, but you don't know anything. I don't care if it's your next door neighbor, your best friend. You do not act as though you know the individual sitting in the waiting area. A lot of medical centers and hospitals, which is where this is directed towards, will say, well, anybody who comes in has to be HIPAA compliant. Well, yes and no.
Okay.
So the delivery carrier that comes in to deliver their water, and the water cooler is either in a break area or out in front in the reception area, how much contact would they actually have with those types of situations? They might need to be HIPAA aware, which is completely different than HIPAA compliant, because HIPAA compliance is a training program with a test. The custodial staff that comes in maybe in the evening, they need to be HIPAA compliant. They need to sit down and they need to take the testing.
Because there's every reason to believe that they could potentially see an open file, a live computer screen.
Correct.
Okay.
Those are the types of things of what it is geared to helping to protect, and it's to protect our medical information.
Okay.
So if I happen to go in that day and I had a medical procedure or I had a check of it, something sitting on that screen and somebody saw something and they knew who I was and they started saying, oh my God, did you know that Joel the doc,
getting a nose job?
Yeah. Yes, getting a nose job, that they can't talk about that. So the opportunity to see that is a lot higher with somebody who's scheduled to be in there cleaning from the hours of 6 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Sure, I get that.
But the person bringing in the water, or a supervisor that may be walking through once a week, or a manager walking through once a month or something like that, it's so much less. So we're in an industry where everybody says that our prices are too high. If we had to literally have everybody tested from the frontline employee right on up to the owner of the company because they might walk through the facility, it's a lot different if we can talk about the things like I said early on, the Cliff Notes version, use those types of things and say, okay, I'm aware, and you sign off on it because you're not there that long.
So for the client who is purchasing the cleaning services, who thinks that everyone on staff that might enter their facility needs to be HIPAA compliant, the question that they don't understand they're asking is, how much is this going to cost me? Because to have everyone trained is a costly process. It's a time-consuming process.
Correct. And you have to be present because the way that the programs run is that they ask questions during the presentation so that you can't be off listening to it on a computer screen. You literally have to be in front of the screen and answering questions.
Actively engaged.
You have to be actively engaged. That's a great way of putting it. You have to be actively engaged in answering the questions within so many seconds of it popping up on the screen, even if you're wrong.
So for the cleaning company owner who's receiving these questions, they might be answering, sure, we'll get that taken care of for you, not understanding that they have vastly increased their cost to service this customer. It doesn't mean they can't.
Correct. But they could be ultra, safe and make sure that everybody is, but there's that cost, and that cost usually is going to be passed on to the customer because you don't need that at the law firm down the street. Right. You don't need that at the bank. You don't need that at the warehouse that you clean.
So that might actually become a negotiation point in performing services written into the service agreement.
Correct. So if the janitorial contractor owner realizes, okay, I need 2 people, my turnover percentage is 400% a year, they factor that in for those 2 people, but they should be looking more for just compliance factor for the owner, the manager, the project crew that might be into shampoo carpets once a year, things like that. Those individuals aren't going to necessarily need the full-fledged training, just the people that are going to be in there on a daily or a weekly basis to do the actual cleaning. And just because you're the owner and you're a smaller company and you're cleaning a medical center doesn't mean that you then have to be compliant. So you, the owner, will have to take the tests in order to be compliant because you just don't get a free pass because you're the owner.
Critical details, Joel. Thank you.
You're welcome.